All right, episode 49. Eric Marc, standing in place. You know the drill. It is March 16th. It took a second to read because it's. I'll give you the real insight behind the scenes. Although it's not behind the scenes, it's supposed to be the scene. It is 10:30 on 3/16, so Tuesday night. Tuesday night, the night that Comedy Works, if they were open, would be having their new talent night. The same night that used to be the Black Buzzard open mic. The same night that is Irish Snook, Scruffy Murphy's. One of those places, maybe both of those places, would normally have a mic. So, you know that's why we're here on Tuesday. Tonight, topics for discussion. Try to exercise the brain. I tried to pick two things and I tried to look them up a little bit, and we'll see how much I can recall. And if I have to cheat, I scribbled some stuff down and I go look. I want to talk about those damn stickers you see on the back of a car, 26-2 sticker. If you don't know what that means somebody's very proud that they bought a sticker that says 26-2 on it. I don't know if by default that sticker means that that person has run a marathon, because that's what it's supposed to denote. 13-1, 26-2. These are the stickers, the decals, the medals that people will honor themselves in order to show the world that they can go a distance on their feet. Or maybe not on their feet. If it's like Paralympic or something, maybe it's on wheels. But I want to talk about that. I want to talk about history of cooking. Because I like to put videos of hot wings being revealed on charcoal grills and start thinking about it and say, whoa, when the hell did this start? So, let's see what we can recall. Let's start with the marathon. It's the marathon, absurd event. And you go run with your legs when we have cars and bicycles and skateboards and electrified scooters. You're going to run with your legs 26.2 miles. Why? Other than to do it. I guess that's the reason, right? We live, for the most part, lives of luxury. We don't have to run that distance in order to transfer a message, because that's where it came from. It was a guy, and I think his name was Philippides. Philippides was an Athenian, and he was in, actually how do you know Philippides is male or female? This seems like a very gender neutral name. I think you could have, this is my daughter Philippides, or you could be like, this is my son Philippides. That would both work. So maybe we don't know the gender of said marathon runner. The first marathon runner. He's the OG. She, whoever is the OG marathon runner. The reason that marathon is named marathon, because there was a battle there. The Persians were invading. The Athenians were on top of the hill, and they fought off the Persians even though they didn't have like a whole lot. I guess there was like less people. They had asked the Spartans, will you come help us? And they're like, no, we're having a feast for 10 days, so we don't have time right now. So the Athenians fought, but they're like, oh, backup is coming, backup is coming. So they fought real hard, and they beat the Persians. This is what my half a dozen YouTube videos and a little bit of reading online has told me. I'm no historian. And when they won, they wanted to tell everybody, you know, just like now, post on social media. So their way of posting on social media is they sent some dude in a loincloth named Philippides to go run from Marathon to Athens. And it was a distance of like 24 something miles. And he got there, and he said, he said a quote. It was like, we are victorious, we conquered, or some shit like that. And then he killed over dead. So the reason I even got curious about this was because I was talking about a marathon, and the person I was talking to was like, hey, didn't the first person that ran a marathon die afterwards? And I said, that's ridiculous. Why would you tell me such dumb stories? And then everywhere I looked, it confirmed the same story, that in like 500 BC, Philippides ran from Marathon to Athens, said a bunch of like noble words, and then keeled over dead. He was an Instagram post. I guess he kind of was, right? You gotta tell him, I want everybody to know. We beat the guys. Oh yeah, boom. You know, just like winning a bicycle race, you gotta post that shit on the internet. So yeah, that's where the first marathon occurred and why it's called marathon, because he ran from Marathon. I don't know why they don't call it Athens. Athens. They should call it Athens. What are we doing? Running in Athens. Because that's where he's going. Is the destination not as important as the place that you left from? I don't know. And then it took him 2,500 years to reenact the event. So much for it being such an important event. It wasn't until 1896, first Olympics, that this event was reenacted. So important, such a part of their history. This dude died being the first person that did it. We need to reenact that. And then they must have had a bunch of bureaucracy like we do now, where systems didn't work right, or documentation, document control. There was something going on, and it took 2,500 years in order to finally reenact it. And they did. And they reenacted the first Olympics, and a Greek guy won the race, so I guess that was cool. And the distance was 24.85 miles. So if you are a true marathoner, that's a word, you should actually be running 24.82 miles. So this 26.2, not really as cool if you had a 24.82 sticker, a decal on your window, a badge of honor. That would be, we'd know you're legit. We'd know you are the real deal from 1892. And that'd be way cooler. Because the marathon distance isn't really that important. Because for the next 6 years, it changed. It changed at every Olympics in order to work with convenience. When it was in England, they wanted to leave from Windsor Castle, and they wanted to arrive at Olympic Stadium, but not just arrive at the stadium. They wanted the finish line to be in front of the royal box, or whatever the hell it was called, where the king and the queen are hanging out. Not the queen's box. That's a little strange. The royal box. This is my royal box, full of all my royal things. So the race had to end in front of the royal box, which is why it ended up being the distance that it is, 42 kilometers. Oh, no, not that time. That time wasn't the 42 kilometers yet. It was, I think, 26 miles, dead even or something, in order to end in that spot so that the royalty in their pantaloons or whatever the hell they wear could see the finish. And that's where the distance came from. So it just kept changing until they finally made it the 42 kilometers, 26.2 miles, and that's what it's been ever since. So really, you're putting a sticker on your car, 26.2. That's not like the important part, I guess. What is the important part? You ran far. That's the important part. Just get a sticker that says I went far. I don't know. So for this whole time, it was all dudes doing this thing until Roberta Gibb. Roberta Gibb was the first woman to complete the Boston Marathon. And she completed it in 1966. But she completed it unofficially. And she ran it for 3 years and completed it unofficially. And in order to enter the race, because no women were allowed to enter the race until 1971, she would hide in the bushes at the start line. Which, come on, if you're trying to not have a person, any person, be involved in the race, only registered participants can enter the race. Roberta's chilling in the bushes at the start line. There's only so many bushes at the start line. Like, your deductive skills, your security is lacking if that's truly what you're trying to accomplish. How did you not see the person in running gear chilling in the bushes? I mean, if she completed it, she gets credit for completing it, so I'd imagine she went from the start to the finish. You couldn't realize that was happening and go, hey, don't do that. Or were the officials like, hey, this is dumb that we're like only guys can do this and that you're not allowing women to run. And they were just like, let it happen. And executives and the nerds in the suits were the ones that were deciding, oh, you can't run far. You only like handle one of the most painful experiences a human can endure just to create life. But you want to run? What are you? No. It's going to take longer than it took them to recreate the race. 2,500 years to recreate the race, than 2,500 years plus another 100 or plus another 70, 80 years before they realize, like, oh, they have 2 legs too. I guess they can run. We might as well let them. So stupid. So stupid, these rules. But they figured it out, and then women are killing it now. And they don't have to hide in the bushes, and they can register, and they can get a number, and do all the things. So, that's marathon. That's marathon. The dude really did die. Philippides, or she, or he, whoever. Philippides died after the first marathon. So when you get criticized, like if someone were to do a marathon, you go, what are you going to do that for? You know, first person that died. That's real. That's real. So, I don't know. I found that very curious event to become this thing where people are, I forgot how fast they're getting them done now, but it's absurdly fast. You know, all sorts of, I don't know, like the gear. They got shoes, like Nike's making shoes with springs in them. That's weird. But pretty much it's just, like, get some light shorts and just shorts, I guess. Which in reality, you don't even need that. They should run marathons nude. I think that's what should really happen. Or go back to the loincloths. Go back to the loincloths in the original miles. The 24.82? 24.85 miles. Let's do that. We like retro things. We like retro things so much, let's bring it back. 24.85 mile marathon. You run in a loincloth. Whatever gender you want. We'll ditch that part of the history. And go. And you got to do it barefoot. And you got to do it barefoot. And not those damn Vibrams. Not barefoot shoes that are shoes. Because if there's something on your foot, it's not bare. Therefore not barefoot. Very comfortable. Definitely serve a purpose. But if we're going to do something barefoot, let's really do it barefoot. So yeah, 24.85 miles. Loincloths. We're bringing it back. Let's do marathons right. So in the realm of history and how things came to be, right? So now we know how marathon came to be. That's very enlightening, I'm sure. Let's talk cooking food. So I feel whenever I'm grilling food and then I put pictures up and made like a steak or something, or I'm making hot wings. I don't think cooking started with hot wings, but it probably started with something very similar to steak. That I'm like touching my roots. I'm touching where Neanderthals and ancient humans figured out to cook their meat, right? We know now that you cook meat, it makes everything easier to digest. You're able to absorb more nutrients. You get more nutrition from the nutrients of the food. And so there's a benefit to cooking food. Okay, cool. So I guess we're wasting all the fish that we eat raw. I'm sorry. We're depleting the oceans in order to eat raw fish that we're not even able to absorb the full nutritional value of. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that. Anyhow, apparently there's evidence that we started cooking food 1.5 million years ago. Way before marathons started. So that's cool. 1.5 million years ago. Probably had a lot to do with humans' evolution, right? Brains grew and our brains grew. But the first meat that was cooked it's theorized that there was a forest fire and an animal died in a forest fire, and then the like primitive humans saw the cooked animal and started eating it and realized, oh, hey, this is good. And at that point, they had figured out fire. So when they would hunt animals, they would cook them with fire. It's a very interesting idea. So like the Walt Disney, you know, Bambi in the forest on fire, Thumper got left behind. He got trapped up on a log and got cooked alive. And then some biped walks up and decides to start gnawing on him. And that's how we started eating cooked meat. That's pretty amazing. I mean, I gotta imagine that's how a lot of things happen when we start eating like things that are rotten and then realize, oh, if you let the plantain turn black, it tastes better. But yeah, that's how they believe we started realizing that cooked meat was good. And then we came and we bastardized the whole process. So I don't remember, I didn't read even the whole history in between. But there's one thing I did want to get to, which was sous vide, because this is a thing that irks the hell out of me. Sous vide, you're boiling your food. You're boiling meat in a plastic bag, which just seems, I like meat on fire. I'm pretty good with meat on a skillet. I can work with that. I understand we're transferring heat through metal, a little bit of oil. That's fine. I like meat on fire, though, for the most part. So the sous vide just pisses me off. You're putting wet meat, you just like slowly, you're giving a spa treatment to a chunk of meat, and then eventually you're gonna eat it. And yeah, I've had some stuff that was sous vide, and it was fantastic. It did get cooked perfectly. So fine, I can accept the flavor, but I still hate the process. Sous vide comes from labs where they would grow cultures, and they just needed a warm water bath in order to let their experiments grow. So you were growing and viruses or God knows what, probably growing COVID, like growing nonsense in water baths is where sous vide started. And then the French in the 70s were trying to figure out how to keep as much fat as possible in their foie gras. Which foie gras is what, like fatty goose liver or something? Which is already another creepy situation. Like, here, eat all this food so that your organs grow a certain way so we can harvest them. Yeah, this is a weird one. So yeah, they didn't want to cook the fat off. So they said, oh, if we wrap this thing in plastic and just boil it, not even boil it, put it in warm water for a while, you don't lose any of the fat and it cooks through, you can eat it. So you can eat more fat. That's what the French were doing in the 70s, and that's where sous vide started becoming popular for cooking, for cuisine. Oh my God. So you just had a place where they had a bunch of lab instruments with goose livers in plastic bags that are eventually edible. And this is something you pay extra for at a restaurant. Yeah, see, that's why I don't miss restaurant. So that's where it started. And then people went crazy in the 80s and started sous videing everything. And now, you know, it happened again. It was like the last 4 or 5 years I keep hearing about it from people around me. Did you get a sous vide? Did you get a sous vide? I got a sous vide. I got a sous vide. I made my meat wet and then I put it on a grill. If you did that one, just put it on the grill from the beginning. You know, you do have the ability to control the heat, even with charcoal. But sous vide has gained popularity. And it came from people trying to keep fat in livers. So, I think that's what I wanted to share with you. No well-written jokes. No awesome punchlines. Just meandering thought process about how ridiculous the development of our civilization is. Forest fire, burned animals, and Greek instant messages. Oh well. That's where we came from, and these are the things we do now, so good to know, good to know. Yeah, I think that's all I got for you tonight. I hope you're all doing well. Hope everybody's healthy. Stay safe, positive, moving forward. And we'll see you in a week. Have a good night. Take care, y'all.